So we're going live on YouTube also. So I have that running too. So see how it goes. I don't know. We're going in the future, Jeff. There's wires running everywhere in front of me right now. There's wires, there's phones, there's all kinds of stuff. So yeah, we're definitely living in Techville, man.
That's good, right?
Yep.
So we want to talk about some different parts today. We have Deborah on. We want to interview her a little bit. Drop went down yesterday. Very successful. Looks fantastic on Nifty Gateway. Sensuality. Deborah's just put out just an incredible project. And we were on your space yesterday, Deborah, and the pride and the emotional component of this whole journey is inspiring to other people and to everyone. And this just turned out just so beautiful, and just what a great just the photography is wonderful. The project's wonderful. Your story and your journey is just something that we're happy to see you going through. It's exciting. It's exciting to see that. We kind of have a bond here from the beginning, which is that we both went under Fanzo's created project at Nifty Gateway as the first couple artists in here, which is kind of neat. So it makes us I guess it's our little fraternity or whatever you want to call it, right? To get things started, which is kind of neat. So Deborah, if it's okay with you, I'd like to start asking a couple questions of what you've done, what you've been through, discuss the project a little bit, help others that maybe may not be aware yet of what you're doing become a little more aware, and just help uplift this project, if we can do that.
Yes, GM to everybody. Jeff and Ryan, thank you so much for having me. This has really been exciting the past 24 hours, that's for sure. Definitely recommend for anybody who hasn't actually put a collection or anything out there to be sold. It is definitely an interesting ride and one to be like. I'll never forget yesterday. It was a monumental day for me as a Web3 artist, and so thanks so much for having me, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions for you.
Great. And thanks for having everybody here. Last week we ran this show, and as everybody knows, in Twitter Spaces they kind of ebb and flow. So Travi, thanks for being here. Shakers, thanks for being here. And Robert, I appreciate that. I think we'll see people come in. I'm not sure that Twitter Spaces are actually ever been designed to be right on time anyway. So we'll have different people through today, and we really kind of decide, this space is really geared towards, how does the fine art world, come into this whole space, right? And just sharing different experiences, different backgrounds and ideas from people. We've had some people on that were more traditionally completely in the traditional art world, and we've had some people on that are really have launched through the NFT space, and then a combination of those things. So Deborah, I listened to your podcast, absolutely loved it. We've been on a couple spaces together in the last week. Love your story. I think you're someone that's going to really inspire other people in photography. I think you're going to inspire other people in other art direction, other places that are just gonna latch onto what you've done, and it's gonna make a difference in people's lives, which I think is really what we're all here for. So if you want to tell a little bit about kind of your journey and however you want to describe that, what pieces you want to put in there, your journey in photography, your journey in, building what you've built here too. I'll give you the floor.
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. A little bit of background about me. First of all, my name is Deborah, and AKA Photo Girl. That's kind of my handle there, and on Twitter and other social media, so you can find me easily there. And so I actually have been shooting professionally now for 33. Actually, this is my 34th year in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and so it's definitely been a little bit of a journey because back in the days where there were, back in the days when film was the medium that you used to shoot photography as an art form, I started back there where there's 4x5 film and literally loading the back of my 4x5 camera and shooting catalogs and that type of stuff on that format. So it goes, I actually was going to go to school to be a dentist, and my counselor said, you need to take different extracurricular courses. She put a sheet of paper in front of me, and there was photography, and my curiosity got the best of me, and I decided, gosh, how do you get prints out of that little orange roll of film there, that Kodak roll of film? So that's kind of where it all began, and I, of course, went to college, and it kind of just a domino effect. I remember being in the car with my mom and dad, and I said, Mom, I don't think I want to be a dentist anymore. I want to be a photographer. And she says, honey, you need to do whatever you want to do because it's going to be for the rest of your life. And I said, great. So I thought, wow, that's a smooth transition, because my parents always, my mom was like, whatever you do, be something in the health field because you'll always have a job. And so that kind of always was in the back of my mind, but photography came so easily to me. It was very much like breathing. And so I, with her blessing, because back in the day, I just wanted so much acceptance from our parents and stuff. And so, and it was nice to have that blessing. So, went on to college. And then, of course, after I got to college, luckily, I was able to, land a job as an assistant with numerous photographers in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and slowly became I actually got a great break and started shooting for Pier 1 Imports, and they're over here in the Fort Worth area, and I was working there as a shooter, shooting film for catalog. And one thing kind of led to another. I got an opportunity to go to New York, so I did. This was right before 9/11, and I shot for Macy's and Abraham and Strauss. And actually, that was the very first time I ever shot with a digital camera, because back in the day, the digital cameras was just a box and a lens, and so I actually had to learn MS-DOS in order for me to shoot with that camera, and it was all tungsten lighting. So I actually shot jewelry. Imagine that, shooting jewelry, tungsten, back in the day, tungsten lighting. So it was really not the most easiest way to shoot jewelry. And I actually have to use wax, the kind of wax that hardens when you put wax on jewelry. So it was not an easy task, but that type of stuff, hard things build character, that's for sure. So I ended up coming back to Dallas. 9/11 happened. Pier 1 Imports offered me a full-time job. I was so unsure, so I went in and took that. I was a senior photographer for Pier 1, helping them orchestrate the brand and feel, lighting-wise, for Pier 1 Imports. And then after 2 or 3 years of doing that, I decided I'm going to just take a leap of faith and just go out there and do this thing by myself. So I ended up doing that, and that was kind of like back in the MySpace days. And I began photographing my friends and stuff because I had been shooting product for years and years and years. And kind of like at some point, I decided I needed to do some projects. A friend of mine said, Deborah, you should always do some kind of project to kind of, because photography as a job is one thing. And then, in order for you to continue your creativity, you've got to, channel that energy into something else. So that's when I began to think, what can I do that will be significant for me? And so that's when Sensuality was born. So I actually started this project almost 14 years ago. I'm thinking about math-wise. It was like 2006, 2007. So 2006 was when I started concepting the project, and then I started to actually start creating images that I was happy with. So first of all, they kind of were dreams that I had, and especially the cover shot. The cover shot was a big dream I had. And then I started exploring to create the images. So then, of course, I had to, get models to help me and things like that, which was no really easy task at the time. However, trust is a big factor to help, to gain relationships. So they understand that it's very, very important for you to help these women understand that under no circumstance was I ever going to exploit anything that we did when we created images until they knew what the vehicle was for creating the images. So we had many discussions, and as time went on, as we started creating the images, I said, I want to make a book. And so everybody was like, absolutely, let's, everybody gave their 100% blessing to that. When I created these images, it was for a book. And then, I stumbled during COVID, into the Web3, just space by listening to a few Clubhouse rooms, and then, of course, after listening and educating myself for over a year, becoming holders of other projects, generative and mainly generative art and projects and brands, then I decided to, I would love to make an NFT project from the book that I was already in the process of making a book, and which is currently happening right now, and integrate Web 2 and Web 3 and bring sensuality into the Web 3 space. So here I am today. Yesterday was my first launch. It was incredibly exciting, and hopefully that's a good summarized version of being here today, Jeff.
It's great. It's great. It's great. I love it. I love the journey. So it's interesting, right? Sliding doors is what I call it sometimes. And it's interesting, you mentioned a couple of them at least. You started as a dentist, and then the door slid, and all of a sudden photography appeared, right? There's no coincidences out there. And then I think the other definite sliding door there was, you stumbled into Web3 like most of us have done it. And, COVID happened, right? And it was Clubhouse, Clubhouse became big. And all of a sudden there was a sliding door there for you too. And, it's interesting how that all happens. And the journey for everybody's different and the path is different. It's interesting how, however many 14 years to get here is so interesting, and how many different pieces along the way there, right? You mentioned your parents, and I heard you speaking on this on another show, and their support of you. Talk a little bit about that, how important that is, and what that's meant to you through this whole process. Because I think that's critical. And some people get it, and some people don't, right? Some people have that, some people don't.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Jeff. First of all, I think our parents in general, hopefully, are definitely supportive of us as we're growing up and getting older and becoming an adult, and with whatever we do. Now, what I did talk about in other shows that I've been on before, podcasts and spaces, was that early on, I knew that I was different. And one of the ways that I realized I was different was being a lesbian. And I didn't even know what that was back in the day in the 70s. I did not understand what my feelings were. And so I didn't come out to my parents for numerous years. And I did that because I just was so scared that they were going to kick me out. So, a lot in the LGBTQIA community, I hear so many stories of parents shaming their children and not wanting any part of it and kicking them out in the street. And back in the day in the 70s, there was no internet. There was no support groups that I could go to. I mean, they're rampant now and they're available. And thank God for that, because even today with those groups, we're losing kids and teenagers, unfortunately, to the just not understanding that being gay, being lesbian, being homosexual is not just like a phase, or it's not a thing that we're trying to do. And I just didn't understand it for the most part. So there's one aspect of being an artist. The other aspect is being gay and then telling my mom and my dad that I was gay. And to be honest, my mom had a really hard time with it. She went into a depression, and my dad kind of comforted her and said, listen, this is just a phase, like understand, like she has like a bad cold and she'll get over it, And so that was really difficult. So understand that as my life progressed and my parents did understand that I was a lesbian woman, that acceptance for me to be here with this project, I literally took the book. I actually showed the book, the project, to my parents probably about, I want to say about 8 to 10 years ago. I showed them the project, and now here it is, a book. And I took the first couple of issues that I got, the tests, just the examples, the testing that we've been doing with the quality and stuff in the book, and took that book to San Antonio recently to sit with my mom and dad and said, this is the book, and allowed them to go and look at the book in private. And, it was a big thing for my mom to say, we are so proud of you. My dad said, I'm so proud of you. So that right there is like monumental for me as an artist, and having the support of my mom and dad. They're still alive and they're 85. And for them to be able to see this come into fruition has been a support and acceptance that I don't know that many artists will actually feel and experience. So there's my thoughts about that. And I'm open to any and all questions that are relate to that, and any questions around what it was like to be in that space, deeper. If anybody ever wants me to go there, I'm totally available for that.
Yeah, well, thank you, one, for sharing. That's, so important. And it's so wonderful to see your parents be in that space. And, yes, we've had some progress as a society, but we've got a long ways to go around, being gay and that whole thing and that acceptance. That's wonderful that your parents were able to just unconditionally love you. And, and there is a generational difference, right? And that they didn't understand. they don't understand. They didn't understand much, and that for your parents to be able to go through that with you and understand and accept that everything is normal, and that's just wonderful. And that's just and then support you on the art and the photography and everything is just so wonderful. So Ryan, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, I did. Gosh, Deborah, you just say like you're so captivating when you're talking about your photography and talking about your journey. It's and I think we have similar. I think we both listening to your podcast and everything. It's just like you. I think we both went down to similar depth in our project, in our first project to come out with, and you said on the show yesterday, you said something, I thought it was so beautiful about when you take a picture, you're trying to captivate that light. You explained the exact emotion that you're trying to get when you're taking a picture, and that's the picture. And can you just tell everybody that, because it was so beautiful how you put it, when what you're looking for in your photography, that yesterday I was just like blown away.
Yeah, absolutely, Ryan. First of all, it's like I know that me being a photographer, me being able to capture moments is a gift, and I never take that lightly. So I learned early on as a photographer, and not just necessarily by my own experience, but by looking at other people's work, like by photographers that before me. And I'm big fans of like Diana Arbus. I mean, yeah, and also like Henry Cartier-Bresson. They were street photographers, and so they were out there, shooting like the war and things like that. And so I noticed that the way they captured images was just like a moment in time to where you literally you kind of feel like you're right there with them, and so you're kind of almost holding your breath. And so the best way I described it for me was when I watch movies, that there's a very touching moment in that movie, and you're just like waiting for that, whether it's an engagement or somebody's trying to say something to somebody else and they don't know how to say it, and I'm in love with you, and you're hoping the other person's gonna reciprocate that same love to you. And it's at that moment, and you're just like holding your breath. What are they gonna say? And it's like that. And so I kind of felt as though that my photography, this collection, is you're in a room and you're traveling from one space to the next in that room or that building or wherever it is, even in your dream space, and you stumble upon a woman or two women embracing, and you're going like, oh, I just walked in on something, but it's not out of sexual nature, but it's a sensual nature, and it's a moment. And so as you peek in and you see that, instead of retaliating back and not seeing what's happening, you're so captivated by that moment because it's so beautiful that you have to just watch and experience it, because it's almost like that, those moments that I see in the movies and in some photographs. It's like, I want to be that. I want to experience that moment. I want to experience that love. I want to experience that, just that vulnerability that they're expressing, because that's what it is. It's that moment that we don't always see, that we'd like to experience. And I really want to bring that human factor into the Web3 space, and I mean, I've seen many pieces of beautiful artistic work in the AI space and just art in general. But I just really wanted to bring that human aspect in the Web3 space. So luckily, sensuality is going to be a part of that. And I'm so proud to be able to put it in this space.
Yeah, with that explanation of your photography, I just think it's like your explanation of this project, it's just so it's really so beautiful, and you did such a great job in it. And like this is like one of those things that I like cannot wait to get my hands on a hardcover also. then I'm gonna meet you up and you can sign it for me.
Absolutely. I am offering a utility in my one-of-ones. So there's 8 one-of-ones, and I believe I've already sold there's 2 or 3 of them. And yesterday was an amazing day. I didn't really expect, that any one-of-ones were going to go off, but in that one, when you buy a one-of-one, the book will come with it. So that I believe is going to be an exciting thing to be able to look at your image that you purchased and then see it in the book. And so understand that some of the images that are available to purchase are going to be exclusive to the book and Web 2 and Web 3. Some images, of course, will only be exclusive to the book, and some of them will be exclusive only to Web 3. So it's very exciting to just have those different aspects of this project to be able to, own and know where these images derived from. So the Census Project is now on the blockchain with help of, the 365, group. And, I see fans out in the audience and Delphi Cat. So with the help of them, now it's now on the blockchain. So it'll always have an origin to where people can know where it originally came from, and I'm the artist, which is so crazy. It's just it's just something to celebrate.
Yeah, I'm gonna chime in right here, and Jeff, we need to go after one of the big dogs so we can get that book. This is when I have to go to Jeff, and I go, Jeff, can we get the book?
Absolutely. Deborah, looking at your whole project here, and all the photos really have come together. And I can't imagine how many photos you've taken over these 14 years. And how did you determine what was going to be in this first drop as an NFT? How did you determine that these handful of pictures were going to be the ones that you were going to display at this time?
Ooh, that is a really good question, Jeff. And I've been with this project for so many years. And of course, laying out the book with my designer. His name is Brett, and he's New Zealand. Excellent designer. That was just laying out the book was no easy task either. And then deciphering through hundreds and hundreds of photographs was no easy task. And so this first launch, I wanted to kind of bring a little bit of those images that I created from 2007 and some of the images that I created in 2022, and just kind of like have them together in this first launch. So a little bit of 2007, and then in between, and then 2022. And as I did that and put these first 12 out together, it was actually really exciting for me because it showed me the progression of the consistency and the same type of temperature that I have throughout the book. When somebody actually sits down and thumbs through that book, they're going on an adventure. So this is the very first part of the adventure of sensuality, because there's so many facets to women exploring their vulnerability, strength, and courage, and being intimate. So I just kind of like wanted this first launch to be a kind of a quiet type of situation, and then of course I'm hoping. I haven't been in discussion yet, but I want there to be sensuality 2 and 3 and 4. So I actually have a whole tattoo series that I've been shooting throughout the years as well. That's also in the book, and these women are expressing themselves on their bodies with tattoos, and that is the most beautiful story. Also, I also have another category of soft BDSM and how women are exploring their sensuality and expression with their lovers and the way they love in that category. And then a whole new, I have a whole wet series of which I included one in this launch. And that's just a whole different story there. And then of course, kind of simplicity also, which I put a little bit of simplicity here. And there's so many different variations of sensuality, and all these hundreds of images that I created over the years. They've been under lock and key and backed up and backed up and backed up. I probably have about 10 different backups of sensuality, and not all located in one spot. They've all in fireproof safes and things like that, to where they'll always be secure. I kind of feel them living on the blockchain are way more secure than anything that I've devised so far. So there you have it.
I love it. So a lot of takeaways there. I appreciate that. The progression over this period of 14 years, and to show that, an adventure, I think is a great way to put it too. And to see that you had photos from 2007 and then 2022, and to see, and I wouldn't be able to pick out, I don't think, the years. So it's interesting to say, you said consistency, which is interesting, but it's also a progression through changes, right? And you just explained that, and I think that's just wonderful. So the vulnerability part is so important, right? And for everybody. And obviously, the models here are all putting themselves in a vulnerable situation. And I think your comment there really was that vulnerability really is an example of strength and courage. And I think that's wonderful. I shared with you the other day, Deborah, that, when I sat and looked at this project, I looked at it, first myself, and then looked at it with my girlfriend, because I wanted us to pick out a piece together, right? I wanted her opinion on this, because it was important. And I haven't actually done that with any other project. This is the only one, and I thought it was very important. And she runs a woman empowerment group where she helps women become more empowered, and a lot of that is through vulnerability, and through that they gain strength and courage together. And your project definitely is a great example of how to do that, and that's why I wanted to share it with her. But this is, and to your point, that sensuality is the beauty of the human body, right? And it can be shared by all, and I think that's just so important out there to have that stance. I have a different type of question for you. So growth in anything only comes by stepping out of your comfort zone. And I think there's a key word there, that it can only happen when you step out of your comfort zone. And you have discussed several different pieces of that today, but would you like to expand on maybe a little bit of your journey of growth your journey of, how you've gotten here and how that all comes together.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for the question. I'm going to take it down one important aspect. And I think in order for you to create a project that's like sensuality for many, many years, and the most important thing is, I knew that when I was going to be doing this project, to ask these women to step into their birthday suit and allow me to photograph them in the most vulnerable way, is I had to take that step myself. So I remember shooting a few shots first with when I was actually testing sensuality, and I was thinking, why are these women so nervous? I just shot a few women that were helping me test the project. So I hadn't actually, sensuality was not born yet. So this was like in the 2006 time slot. And so I didn't really quite understand. So I just said, okay, I need to step into that arena. And so one night I sat in my studio with my camera, completely nude, with a plunger to my shutter, and got my lighting and everything ready, computer, and I sat there, and before I could even hit my timer, my plunger, I began crying, and I said, I get it now, and I sat there and cried first, and then I said, wow, this is not easy for somebody to sit naked and there's nothing else except yourself. And so you don't have a choice but to look at yourself. So that was a big journey for me to, whatever I didn't love then, the journey was to understand love and acceptance of me exactly where I was at that point. And so as women and men both come in my studio for a simple headshot, fully clothed, of course, for their business or otherwise, they're coming in, scared as well. Just, they're pointing to what they don't like about themselves or whatever. And so, as you can see, we all have that vulnerability of just being able to be scared to come in and be captured, fully clothed, and here I was doing this whole series of women being in the most vulnerable state that they, and asking them to create these images. So it was definitely a journey and understanding the space and place where they were, and understanding where to meet them, and understanding to take as long as they needed to be able to get into that place and space, so that way I could capture images. And, I want to be very, very honest, and also extend that when I do photograph somebody as simple as a headshot, I take that same time for them to be comfortable for me to capture who they are. Sometimes I can do it in 5 minutes to do a headshot. Sometimes I'll sit there for 20, 30 minutes until I capture who they are, the essence of who they are in their simple headshot. So, this journey has taught me how to communicate to people in a better way, and being a better person, being a better photographer, and being able to relate to people, and so that way they can understand who they are, their own growth, and meet them exactly where they're at, because exactly where you are today is exactly where you should be. Yeah, it's that simple.
Yeah, just that simple. That's awesome. I love that, Deborah. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely, no question. I have to imagine that's, going out of your comfort zone, right? To do that and to do the photography and to put yourself in, the position of the other women you were that were your models, to do that, I think is so important. And I think in any form of communication, right, being in another person's seat is critically valuable. And I love, just seeing that, you pushed yourself in the crying part, right? And I understand that, right? You're in a space of complete vulnerability, of completely being, uncomfortable in a new situation, and to do that, to then help connect with your models. I can only imagine at that point. So I love that, and I think there's other aspects of growth that you have gone through this whole journey in the business aspect, right, of the Web3 aspect, of all these little pieces, that it's one step at a time, and it's great to see that. So Santosh, did you have a question or a comment you wanted to bring up?
Yeah. Good morning to all of you. Happy Saturday. Hey, Deborah, what a beautiful story. And I love, I kind of got into the meditative mode and try to listen to you, what you're saying, how your journey began, what all happened to you, and how everything come together for you. And I also felt it in your voice, how you actually got comfortable and the way you were and how you see your things. And, it literally shows us who you are. But even all of the beautiful art as a photographs you captured it, they're wonderful. I can see every which photograph you listed out there, it has an emotion to it. And so I felt it. So I just wanted to say thank you. And you are a real artist. And, this sort of stories needs to be shared all around. And it will give, a confidence on newcomers and new learners. And so, it's a journey, definitely. And it took me 45 years of my life to realize to be standalone and, be express who I am, where I am, what I am. So it takes courage. And I can literally, sense that all around, all of your explaining, all of your, talk. But I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for the stage, Jeff and Ryan. And I'm going to step down. You guys enjoy talking, and we'll see you all around. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. I think that is the most beautiful thing about like being an artist, is being able to tell your story. And when you start like making these connections and diving even deeper, and like the help of, Vanzo and the team, like getting our stories as artists out there, it really, it's funny how different we are, but how like there's a fight in all of us. And like, I think that's, getting the story of an artist out there and listening and diving into, what made them do this and what made them do that is my favorite part of listening, is anything about art. Like I collect art from the stories of the artists. I always have. That's what's hanging out all over my house is, I love the embattlement of artists and them just keep on trucking. And I think that how you talk about your photography is so beautiful. And it's funny how fast I think you'll become a beacon for people that are going to grasp onto you, and you're going to be teaching them, because it happens really fast. Like it's happened, like all of a sudden, like I'm like, whoa, I had a podcast come out. Now everybody thinks I know everything. And it's like, we're all growing together. We're all helping each other. And I think we have just, I think this whole collection, and I think it's just so, I think you did such a tremendous job with it. And I just couldn't be prouder to have you here and talking to you right now.
Thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate that. And what that gentleman spoke about, he spoke about something that was really important, and it's like talking about this project, being vulnerable, being able to tell my story and things like that. And you know, I got to tell you that, you know, sitting on this project, and as I continue to you know, watch it grow and watch it have a heartbeat, I knew one of these days I was going to have to talk about it. And it was something that I was not looking forward to, because I always thought to myself, you know, I'll never be able to say what I want to say about it and be eloquent with my words and things like that. And I you know, and you know, I kind of felt like, you know what, it's okay that I don't know how to express all my thoughts all at one time. I just have to do it step by step, and that's okay, because, you know, it's like that's one reason why I was a photographer, is because I was able to express myself through images. I let the images talk for me. However, because sensuality is so important, I had to be able to find my voice. And, you know, luckily the past year, listening to Brian, you know, talk so much, and just, you know, listening to his podcast, I think that may have helped me find my voice a little bit by just listening on the daily. So one thing, you know, I identify with this photographer. Her name is Vivian Mayer, and so there's actually a film. You know, if you like art at all and you like photography at all, see if you can find a film called Finding Vivian Mayer. It was released in the 2013 to 2015 era, and the whole concept with Vivian was that she was a street photographer. She photographed with a 2 1/4 camera. Those are the kind of cameras you have to look down to compose your images. So the way that she was found out after she passed, her images were found in a storage locker, and they were auctioned off. And this gentleman bought her images and found out that he had a gold mine. And so now, you know, there was exhibits and things like that, and they made this documentary to figure out who this photographer was. And in that film, they said, you know, first of all, nobody knew that she was, you know, such a amazing photographer, because she kept it hidden. And so they were saying, like, if anybody were to have discovered Vivian when she was alive, she would have hated all this. She would not have liked all this. She would have not wanted to talk about her work, or she would have just all wanted it to all go away. And I remember sitting there back in the day, because, you know, by that time, you know, in that time when this film was released, I remember watching that film saying, like, gosh, I have to be alive. I have to be able to talk about sensuality. You know, people want to know why, and you know, that's why I'm here. I want them to know how and why, and all the facets to creating sensuality, and not wonder how. And you know, I want, if they decide to take that leap and buy one of my images or the book or both, I want them to know all the things that it took, the road I had to travel to get sensuality to be born, because it wasn't an easy task. And, you know, doors have been closed numerous times for this project to be out there, you know, and, you know, I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've been censored. MySpace took me down 3 or 4 times. I think Instagram took me down 2 or 3 times. YouTube banned me for years. I can be on there now. And then, you know, Facebook took me down. I mean, every social media that's out there that I tried to show my work took me down. There's, you know, galleries would not show my work. So I made my own gallery. And, you know, it's like, understand this, any artists that are out there that may be hearing my voice or hearing the replay, don't quit, keep going. You have something to say. You have a story to tell. So find the door, find the crack, build the bridge, make it happen.
Yeah, and I mean that's what it's all about. And I think that in this space, it's you as a real life artist coming into it, you sometimes people from the outside think this space is really easy to operate and really easy. Some people are like, oh, NFTs, blah blah blah. It's you're just in some kind of pyramid scheme or something like that. And I mean, I can attest to that with my artist friends that are waiting for me. And I think that I think when we start getting our stories out here and start, start being able to show who we are and show our journey. I mean, the ripple effect Jeff talks about all the time is there. I mean, and and it's funny because this in this room, I think the ripple effect really started with Fanzo throwing the rock into the pond, and it all kind of sparked us. And, I think that now we're wanting to spark other people. And it just, Deborah, you might have not came in, you had to talk about this project one time, but I think, you're saying I had to talk about it. I know it's coming. And, I think with you sharing about this project, I mean, you're throwing that rock into the pond and it's rippling everywhere. I mean, it was so funny because I was freezing. I'll tell you, my fingers were frozen. I do a little photography on the side, and I love going down to downtown Detroit and shooting like street photography. And my fingers were frozen the other day when I was shooting, and I was just like, find that magical moment. Find that magical moment. So, the dedication and love and everything that you're expressing in your work is, I mean, it's gonna give that ripple effect. It's gonna inspire people. I mean, it's inspiring me, it's inspiring Jeff. And, if anybody hasn't listened to the podcast, I think you definitely should tune in. I mean, the journey goes in deep, and I was choked up a couple times. So, I appreciate you sharing so much. And I think that it's so beautiful when you connect the story with the art and artist.
Thank you, Ryan. I know that's so heartfelt, and I feel it. I'm taking it all in, and this is like these moments that are definitely going into my awesomeness folder. And I have just, I have so much gratitude. So thank you. I appreciate that.
It's incredible the fact that you are sharing your stories. I'm also trying to do that. We as artists are kind of overlooked. People think that art is music art or NFT art or digital art or simply painting or drumming are things that are naturally talented in humans, but there are talents that humans naturally have, but it's not like breathing. It's mostly not. People are trying to maintain the skills. People are trying to make a living out of it, and it's very hard. This is why I admire people like you and people who are trying to share their stories to their art, and especially if the people will actually appreciate them, if they make the people appreciate them, they will become successful. They will become the highest paid if they want to.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, we all, of course, I don't know. It's so funny. The older I get, like, and I don't want to be like, I'm the old dude, but I will tell you this, the money and it really comes when you're doing something. You might not see it coming, you might be going, when I started, I was like, yeah, I don't know. Is this still a good idea? We're eating a lot of spaghetti around this house, but, as you get it out, as you get your story out, and as you make connections, I think that, the money comes, and the money's different because it's sufficient. It's not about it. It's about growing. It's not about killing. You know, we're growing here. We're not telling our story to throw a bunch of NFTs down and kill it. Like this is, you know, I think we're all here as artists to inspire. And as you inspire, you know, your story goes out there, you know, and that's when people start connecting who you are, you know. It's a long road, you know. It's not a
Yes, and while you're going to this road, you can find pieces that you may slowly grow your own empire, and maybe it will become bigger than you think. So don't listen to people. Listen to you. Are you happy doing it? Then go for it. Fight for it, and be ready to give up blood. Your blood, no others.
100%. So, Jeff, do you have anything else to add? Deborah, does anybody else want to speak? I'll let you handle that, man.
Yeah, I want to ask a question, and then this will be my last kind of, well, it won't be my last. I'll keep talking probably. Then I'll have some other people speak, but this is going to be for Deborah and Ryan both, and then we'll go from there. But so we've got a bond, right? And we connected by both being, or all of us being artists in Fanzo's first couple curated drops on 58, and Fanzo, Leslie, Allison, Drew, you know, Deborah first, and then Ryan, you know, what that part's meant to you, why that came about this way, you know, why Nifty anyway, why collaborate with Fanzo's team, and what that's meant to you. So I can throw that one to you first, Deborah, and then I'll go to you, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. That's a great question. You know, first of all, I've never met Fanzo IRL. You know, I've kind of discovered Fanzo in the Periscope days. So that was many years ago. I never got to his channel. He would have like this daily quote that he would speak, and what it was about Fanzo is he was very intuitive, and he was very connected to listening to people and communicating back and forth, and I like that. He didn't ever speak at me. He spoke with me, and on a social media basis where you're reading comments and you're not actually having a verbal conversation back and forth like we are today, but he was able to manage to do that, and and that was amazing to me. So as the years progressed, you know, I kept up with him, and when this Web3 space came about at the Clubhouse, when that came about, I started educating myself, and Fanzo was somebody that I just kind of like felt like I could trust. So I actually like followed like 3 or 4 people out of the Periscope era, forever, and he was one of those people, and the other 3 were women. So he was the only guy I followed, continue to follow after all said and done. And so during the time that he was speaking in his podcast, he would talk about, before you do anything in the NFT space, you want to become a holder. So I did that. I explored becoming a holder. I currently am holding some of his NFTs with 365 Group. I'm holding some of his art pieces that he's created in the AI space. And, of course, other projects as well, other brands I'm holding as well. And so that was a big decision as far as, where to go and how am I going to bring my project to light. And once I heard that he was going to be a curator for Nifty, putting together the puzzle pieces was a very easy thing for me, because here's somebody that I trusted. And then as I continued to be in the Discord with him and his team, it was very, very easy for me to see that everybody that was on his team were handpicked individuals that were trusted, extremely smart, and were available to work the people to help them. Take them into the Web3 space safely. And I saw Benzo go through his wallet being compromised and things like that. And so he took us on that journey. He held us from point A to point B to where we are today. And every step of the way, he didn't hold back. He gave us all the information out there free. All we had to do was take the time to listen. And that's it. It was just, all we had to do is just listen. Take the time to listen to what he was saying. Because everything that he brought to the table was valuable information. This is a very special project to me, very special. And for me to say, okay, I want this guy, this white cis male, to help me with this project, has everything to do with growth, trust, integrity. This is, he's already rolled out the red carpet for me. Why not walk on it now? And so it was not hard for me to walk with him and his team, and I'm so grateful for that. So that's my 2 cents.
Ryan, if you want to kind of give your thoughts and take on that also, that'd be great.
Oh yeah. I think well, Jeff, we came in together, I mean, you were in the space. I trust somebody in my life. I trust like 2 people 100%. And one of them's Jeff. So I've learned so much from you. I've learned so much from Banzo, the podcast is pretty much rolling all the time. There was a good solid, like I would say, it was probably in September when I really got into this space where Mo, my wife Mo, was like, all right, I can't hear to put in some earbuds because like it was constant learning and constant going from, I think there's a lot of power in people Twitter too. A lot of power in making a connection. You cannot make the connections in Twitter on other socials. I have not had any amount of moments of learning, people trying to help. And I've had it in space in Web3. And it's really cool. Like, I know Deborah has had is, you're probably getting accounts from people, you're like, whoa, you want to do something together, you're interested in working together, like it's getting really cool, and that collaboration feel is what I always wanted in life. Like I love working with people. I love being a team member because it's funny though. Like when I started off, I had as it winded down, it was just me because I have this unpunchable work at work. I want stuff out there, and I live this lifestyle of art. This isn't like it's not a job you turn off. It's 24 hours a day. If we're not, we're going on family trips to Detroit to try to find shooting locations. We're going, everything in my life revolves around art, and so it revolves around working too.
know, and you have to. It's funny. I don't think this is I know that is for sure. It's like you navigate to these people that you know are the same as you. You navigate to these people that you know are like, all right, they're living it. They're living it 100%. I'm living it. You know, these are the people I want to be with. You know, and these are the people I want to associate with. I want to associate with the workers. I want to associate with the builders. I want to associate with the people that are dropping the rocking pond and causing the business. Right? Because there's a lot of people that have, you know, a lot of money to throw big giant rock in that pond and no ripple with that. And I mean, this, you know, it's so beautiful what we're building here in these relationships where we're getting together, because like I just think that it's opening other avenues in each other also. Be like, wow, I didn't, you know, I was talking to like a teenager the other day, and I listened to a podcast, and it was like, you know, I mean, it was an amazing moment. It was like you really one of those moments where you're like, I think I really like, I never came in to be an influencer. I came in to influence, you know, ideas and share, and hopefully it'll spark something to inspire people. And you know, getting that moment, and you're like, this is the moment. This is it. You know, this is it. I got this 16-year-old girl messaging me, telling me that, you know, she loves the story and she's inspired by it and wants to fight doing art, you know, and everybody else doesn't want her to do it. And it's, you know, I think that we're perpetuating such a community of love and, you know, just helping each other, inspiring each other, that I'm so glad I'm a part of this community.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. I mean, and all this is so important, right? You know, I look at this space, and I think it's so important. And we all have strengths, and we all have our things that we know well, and to partner with people to help each other, you know, build each other, uplift each other is so valuable. When I looked at this from the project standpoint, last year, so but you know, we see this community that comes together, how valuable it is, and you know, Deborah now with us, you know, building this relationship, supporting each other, each other, and you know, we look at your life, see the value and the things we've done to say, hey, this is something that we can learn from. And you know, it all comes together. And you know, to Fanzo's point, we's greater than me for sure. So Fanzo, don't forget, you guys want to like speak. Please first.
I'm not getting sick of it, let me tell you. So, you know, I'll just kind of repeat the sentiment that I expressed yesterday, which is congratulations to both of you for both of your launches and your projects. It's just amazing. Maybe one day. So I have a question actually for Jeff. Jeff, I hope you don't mind if I put you on the spot. As I was listening to you reflect on kind of the team approach in all of this, I was reflecting kind of on my own role, like in the NFT space, I'm an artist and I have no vision supporting you. You know, I kind of know my space, I know where I want to fit, and that's more like in a supportive role. Like I work on Fanzo's team in the background, I do a lot of background support work, and I'm just wondering how your relationship with Ryan